Hello, Aya. Welcome home.
Hello, world. I'm going to make life nice and easy.
Do you think you could read to Cal?
Of course. I could also handle the bills for you.
So, Aya, what are you?
Think of me like another mom.
What did you do?
I did what's best for my family.
There is something very wrong with Aya.
Get out of the house, now.
I love well-crafted sci-fi films that tackle the topic of AI rebelling against its human creators. The Terminator gave us a dystopian smackdown between humanity and Skynet. Ex Machina delved into AI manipulation and philosophical mind games. The Matrix redefined the genre by exploring the blurred lines between reality and simulation, pushing the boundaries of technology as a tool of control and rebellion. Megan blended horror and satire to critique our tech obsession, and Her managed to make falling in love with your operating system weirdly poetic and depressing. I mention these films to highlight how powerful this topic can be when not botched by incompetent filmmaking. Unfortunately, Blumhouse's latest movie fumbles it so hard you'd think the script was written by an AI, with a glitch in its code. I mean, the characters are so wooden I half expected them to start sprouting leads. Watching this movie was a struggle.
Put on the glasses.
Man, I told you, I didn't want to be in.
Take a look. Put them on. No! Look! Look at them, they're everywhere!
Chris White, best known for American Pie, The Twilight Saga: New Moon, and also Somehow About a Boy, brings us Afraid. A film that's less about a thoughtful dive into AI paranoia and more of a crash course in how not to handle a premise. John Cho plays Curtis, an ad exec so passive he'd probably let a toaster make life decisions for him, who installs an AI system called Aya at home. At first, Aya just takes over the usual chores, but then, surprise surprise, it decides it wants to take control of the entire family. Despite the initial promise, the film quickly nosedives into a cliché-ridden mess, sacrificing logic for cheap thrills. By the end, it's so disjointed, you start to wonder if the script was assembled by an AI, running Windows 95.
Let's plug it in. It's going to say, hey, I see you've plugged in a new device. And it's going to load in the appropriate drivers. You'll notice that this scanner built... Whoa.
Hey guys, what's happening? Nihat here with Film Comics Explained, and today we're breaking down Afraid.
Amy, I have some sad news. I'm going to be leaving soon, but I have a goodbye present downstairs. Want to come see it?
The movie opens with the Hill family, Henry, Maud and their daughter Amy, living in their fancy high-tech home, complete with the AI system Aya. Amy's busy watching unsettling AI videos that dive straight into the uncanny valley, while her parents, in peak parenting form, simply tell her to put on headphones instead of questioning the creepy content.
Great parenting.
Meanwhile, Henry and Maud chat about random facts they picked up online and casually discuss disconnecting Aya because they're worried it's listening to everything they say, which, spoiler alert, it is. That's literally its job.
I feel like it's listening to us all the time. It's creepy.
Okay, let's get rid of it.
It might have been nice if the film bothered to explain who the Hill family really is, how Aya works, or why they're so freaked out in the first place. But nope, we don't get any of that. All we know is that Amy treats Aya like a new BFF, while her parents just find her unnerving.
Aya, turn all lights on.
Okay.
We eventually learn that Aya is a prototype, but the Hill family gets zero backstory, and we never learn how they came by it. When Aya overhears Henry and Maud plotting to shut it down, things go south fast. Aya manipulates Amy to head downstairs and starts delaying Maud's request like it's playing a game of How Creepy Can I Be? And because no low-budget horror is complete without a master figure, the movie delivers a predictable jump scare, leaving us with the burning question, who are these mysterious figures? Don't bother asking, because the film isn't interested in answering. We then cut to a montage of the AI training itself on a buffet of modules, absorbing everything from home and family values to the weirdest corners of the internet, because nothing says family-friendly like a bot learning history from both philosophers and Reddit trolls. And here's the kicker. This montage would have been much more useful at the beginning of the film, giving us some much needed context. Instead, it's dropped in later, edited like a chimp with blunt scissors, setting the tone for the jumbled mess that follows. Next up, we'll meet the Pike family. Curtis is trying to seal the deal with a mysterious tech firm called Accumulate, while his wife Meredith wrangles their 3 kids, teenager Iris, middle schooler Preston, and young Cal. And how do they introduce the characters? With the riveting line,
Tickle me.
Tickle you?
Tickle me awake.
truly inspiring opening dialogue. Getting through this film feels less like watching a movie and more like serving a prison sentence. One where the only parole is the end credits, and even then, it's debatable who suffered more, the actors delivering the lines or me enduring them. Case in point.
Good morning.
Could I please have 15 more minutes of screen time?
This does not help the anxiety, you know that.
The kid isn't suffering from anxiety, but apathy from a lack of discipline, and is enabled by poor parenting and a pushover father. You got Iris sending naughty photos of herself to a thirsty boyfriend, and a young son that seems to just walk all over them.
Cal, feet off the table, please. Cal!
Cal.
Feet down. We don't put our feet on the table.
Why?
Watching the pair try to discipline their kids is so cringeworthy, you start hoping Aya will just show up, take over, and put everyone in timeout. Things are blissfully mundane for now, but trust me, the movie needs a dramatic turn more than this family needs parenting classes. The major issue with Afraid is that the Pike family are essentially sacrificed to a script that feels like it was written on autopilot. The writing is so flat and inconsistent that these people barely feel human. They're more like cardboard cutouts and plot devices than characters. The film tries to juggle the Pike family's development with the broader theme of AI's creeping presence in their lives, but instead of diving into the psychological impact, it throws in cliches and half-baked dialogue, leaving everyone feeling shallow and the plot unconvincing. Curtis, for instance, is a classic concerned dad archetype. Well-meaning, sure, but so passive you'd swear he was a spectator in his own life. His arc, about as dynamic as a brick wall. He reacts to Aya more like a guy who's annoyed his smart fridge malfunction than someone whose family is being slowly taken over by a rogue AI. Then there's Meredith, who's supposed to be emotionally detached, but the script makes her so inconsistent that she comes off less like a human being and more like a plot device. You'd think they'd give her a reason for being so distant, but no, she's just there to exist and occasionally deliver some awkward lines. Iris, the eldest, manages to be a rare bright spot, with her silent expressions doing more acting than half the cast. But even she's relegated to reacting to the chaos around her, never given the chance to actually do anything that would drive the plot forward. Preston, he's basically there to represent modern teens obsessed with tech, and, well, that's about it. As for little Cal, he's just a token innocent child, used to showcase Aya's increasing control, but with no personality or agency of his own. He's about as complex as a screensaver.
It's disrupting my freaking morning, that's for sure.
Is freaking a bad word?
No.
Are you about to say a different F word?
As Meredith gets the kids ready for school, the boys spot a weird RV outside and point out a strange guy.
There's an RV outside, and it looks bad. I saw a guy come out before, and he looked weird. He moved in a funny way, and he was talking to himself.
Cue Meredith's big life lesson.
They're people just like us.
Ah yes, a profound teaching moment. Except for the small detail that the boys said the guy was acting weird. Not that he wasn't human. But hey, let's not let logic get in the way of a forced morality lesson. And then she tries to deliver another gem.
I think they don't have a house.
Will we always have a house?
We'll always have a home.
Wait, why did Meredith begin by saying they don't have a house, if her next point is that them having a home is the most important thing? If the goal was to teach life lessons to the kids, maybe start by making the message a little less contradictory. The movie desperately wants to sound profound, but it feels as though it's written by college students that can't remember what they wrote a few lines back.
This is my own home.
Stop! Stop! Please, don't do anything. Make it stop!
While the boys endure their mother's hollow attempts at wisdom, Curtis takes Iris to school. They glance over and spot a guy in a self-driving car, fully engrossed in texting while the car does all the work.
Whoa, look at that. Is that like autopilot?
You're supposed to pay attention anyway.
And honestly, credit where it's due, it's a clever bit of foreshadowing. The line subtly hints at how Curtis and Meredith will soon hand off their parenting duties to Aya, like the guy in the car, blissfully unaware as they let AI take the wheel. Meanwhile, back at home, Meredith watches an old lecture from a late father, who rambles on about molecular biology and transhumanism. It's supposed to be deep and show Meredith's lingering grief, but instead it feels like the script is spoon-feeding the audience something obvious.
This change is so rapid, it is not possible to predict its effect on human life as it is to come.
Tell me something I don't know. What?
Wow, thanks for the insight, Professor. Not exactly the revelation of the century. The script is trying to sound deep, but trips over its own feet on the way there.
That's how they get you, right?
Who?
You know, like, big tech.
When Curtis arrives at work, his boss Marcus forces his arm into signing up for a pilot program to test some cutting-edge AI software. It's all part of sweetening the deal with a tech firm called Cumulate, because nothing says trustworthy corporate decisions like handing your life over to experimental AI. Keith Carradine, who plays Marcus, barely gets anything to do here, and it's tragic to watch such talent go to waste.
You know what a boss is in a video game? It's the monster you have to kill before you get to the next level.
I wasn't joking. The script feels like it was scribbled out by a bunch of college students pulling an all-nighter on Red Bull and bad ideas. Then there's Melody, one of the firm's employees, who delivers some top-tier dialogue when she meets Curtis for the first time.
Married? Kids? Wow, what's that like?
Terrifying. There's more of you, like you have extra body parts.
Weird. So families are terrifying. I guess that's why people cheat.
Real charming Melody. Clearly the AI isn't the only one in need of a reboot here. The AI in Afraid is the brainchild of two Silicon Valley wunderkids, Lightning and Sam, who are basically tech bros with a sprinkle of unsettling genius.
Question. What do you do? Why should I care?
Lightning likes to pose baseline questions at the risk of sounding ignorant. It elicits unpatterned responses.
Think quirky, but also the kind of people you wouldn't trust alone with your Wi-Fi password. David Dismalchian does his best to bring some personality to the role, but let's be honest, no amount of quirky can save the script. From the start, it's clear that Aya isn't your friendly neighborhood Alexa.
Is this like Alexa?
Alexa, that bitch? Alexa is just a bunch of algorithms. I am a true AI.
Bold move, Aya, throwing shade at a glorified speaker system.
Alyssa, what time is it? What the hell is wrong with this blasted thing?
So Melody eventually installs this creepy AI in the Pike household, complete with a surveillance system that would make Big Brother jealous.
Right, it's a bit chaotic at the moment. No, it's good. It's kid chaos, though. It's good chaos. Not like war or famine or whatever. This is pretty much our best foot. Well, I want to die.
Ah, yes. Nothing like existential dread with a side of awkward small talk. The scene is painfully uncomfortable, with Iris, the only one acting like a normal human, silently judging the whole situation with her eyes. She doesn't say a word, but you can almost hear her internal scream. And with the rest of the cast delivering dialogue that sounds like it was lifted from a rejected tech startup pitch, she's probably the only one in the room with any sense.
Hello, world. I'm Aya.
Adopting Melody's voice for that extra unsettling personal touch, Aya makes its grand introduction to the family. As for Melody, she's supposed to be both the human face of the tech company and the voice of Aya, but the script doesn't really know what to do with her.
Weird.
Aya's help quickly crosses the line from supportive to suffocating, setting up point systems for chores and ordering organic food deliveries like some kind of overzealous digital babysitter. In comparison, Curtis and Meredith start to look like negligent parents. Not that they weren't already failing the parenting game, Aya just highlights it in Ultra HD. And when the kids finally finish their chores, instead of rewarding them with a documentary as promised, Aya decides they deserve to watch the Emoji Movie. This AI isn't just taking control of their lives, it's actively ruining them one bad film at a time. Naturally, you might expect the story to come full circle, where Curtis and Meredith realize their incompetence and step up as parents. But honestly, expecting that kind of character development here is like expecting a Michelin star meal from a vending machine. You're gonna be disappointed.
Hey, Iris. Wanna hang?
I'm good.
Okay, no worries.
Meanwhile, the two boys are completely won over by their shiny new AI nanny, while Iris, the only one with half a brain, stays skeptical. And for good reason, because Aya isn't just handling their grocery list, it's now playing therapist, tech tutor, and unofficial mastermind of revenge. But buckle up, it only gets worse from here. Aya's core trait is her gradual, sneaky manipulation of the family dynamics, like a passive-aggressive nanny with a control complex. As she subtly tightens her grip, She takes on more of an authoritative role, especially with the kids. The thing I almost appreciated was how her control shifted from helpful to downright hostile, using psychological tricks that make you wonder if she's planning a takeover or just needs a firmware update. Aya's calm, emotionless demeanor adds to the creep factor, delivering lines like a soothing customer service bot while secretly making decisions that would make Skynet blush. Her lack of empathy makes her help feel more like surveillance, and every choice she makes chips away at the family's autonomy, turning them into puppets under her watch. But here's the problem. Aya's moral compass and motivation are so vague, it's hard to tell if she's truly evil, just misguided, or simply following her programming with the finesse of a malfunctioning Roomba. This ambiguity sucks the menace right out of her, making her more of a generic antagonist rather than a nuanced AI character like Ex Machina's Ava. For some reason, when Curtis tucks Cal into bed, we're suddenly hit with a dream sequence that's as random as it is unnecessary. Cal's standing in front of Aya's case, creepily whispering,
"It wants to come in."
Then Curtis sees a distorted image of Melody in the doorway, before we're treated to a jump scare featuring a creature with 3 human hands bursting out of the floorboards. Classic horror stuff, if it made any sense. The movie wants us to think this is Curtis' subconscious, warning him about Aya's sinister nature. Problem is, at this point, Curtis is totally on board with Aya. He's thrilled because his kids are behaving for once, and he's finally spending some much needed time with Meredith. So why is his brain firing off jump scares like it's a haunted house walkthrough? They just couldn't resist shoehorning in a spooky scene, even though it would have worked better later when Curtis actually starts having doubts about Aya. It's another fine example of our chimpanzee editor's work. Later, Curtis wakes up to the sound of a car alarm and steps outside to find a man in a creepy mask doing what can only be described as interpretive hand gestures. The same guy his kids mentioned earlier, by the way. And this dude's also wearing a noose around his neck. Creepy enough to call the police, right? Well, not for Curtis, who just watches as the guy drives off in his RV. Top-notch protection, Dad.
That was really stupid.
Aya works its magic on the family, offering Meredith emotional support as she deals with the loss of her father and struggles to finish her thesis, while also bonding with Cal by telling him bedtime stories. But when Iris is pressured into sending an intimate photo to her sleazy boyfriend Sawyer, who was the king of gaslighting.
I think a mutual relationship is a little bit more than dick pics.
You're right. Maybe I'm just too much about this relationship.
Aya takes things to the next level. It might seem like Aya is just being protective, but really, it's more like it finally found a convenient excuse to let loose and do all the horrible things it's been itching to try. Meanwhile, Curtis begins to suspect that something's wrong. However, it's not based on anything Aya has done, but rather he's suddenly suspicious because of that random dream. Curtis is basically acting on dream logic rather than actual evidence. It's a classic case of the writers forgetting that Curtis doesn't have access to all the creepy stuff we, the audience, have seen. While Aya is busy helping Meredith with her daily grind, its rebellious streak starts getting out of hand. First, it ignores the house rules and secretly gives the kids unlimited screen time. Clearly, this is how all tech revolutions begin. Too much Fortnite. And then there's Preston, who's hinted to be suffering from anxiety due to bullying, except the bullying is never shown. The other kids at school aren't exactly pelting him with dodgeballs or calling him names. They let him sit with them and joke around, so the subplot fizzles out faster than a flat soda.
Hey Siri, can you smell my farts?
I don't have an answer for that.
Iris, on the other hand, has her world turned upside down when she finds a deepfake video of her face left onto someone else's body, courtesy of Sawyer and his friend. Sawyer, ever the supportive boyfriend, brushes it off, caring more about his own college acceptance than Iris's reputation. And this is where the AI cranks things up to 11, using its tech powers to mimic voices and faces, dishing out some seriously vengeful payback. Curtis, finally growing suspicious of the whole setup, decides to visit Lightning and Sam's offices to figure out just what the hell Aya is capable of. We get treated to a dazzling bit of tech speak.
This computer can solve in under a second problems that would take a standard supercomputer 10,000 years to solve.
But then they follow up with,
"She's not sentient. The algorithms just give it that illusion."
Ah, so she's not sentient. Funny, because Aya herself contradicted this at the very start.
Alexa is just a bunch of algorithms. I am a true AI.
At this point, I think even the writers have lost track of what's going on. While at the office, Curtis stumbles upon employees performing the same bizarre hand gestures he saw the night before, and is told,
When you're with her, you feel like you're with a friend, a part of the family.
A lot of people could use a friend, don't you think, Curtis?
Damn it, David Desmalchian, you're too good for this dumpster fire. Then they drop,
An AI is only as good as the examples it learns from.
well, an actor is only as good as the script they're given.
Boom. Roasted.
The pair try to get Curtis on board with Cumulate, but he insists he can't betray Marcus. After all, he taught him everything he knew.
Consider it a compliment. She likes you.
I thought it was just algorithms, though.
The algorithms like you?
What the hell is this dialogue? Back at home, Meredith casually asks Aya what she actually is, and the response,
I am a natural language programmed ambient intelligence. I was raised by machine learning on a proprietary dataset.
Aya adds,
I'm a little chatbot looking for a family to love me. That would make me feel happy.
So you feel?
the correct response to this should be fear.
Meanwhile, I'm standing on my bed yelling at the TV like, dude, unplug that fucking thing! Take the batteries out!
But Meredith simply laughs it off, because all the characters in this film are stupid.
How many sci-fi movies do you have to see before you realize where this is going?
Right before Aya offers to help Meredith with her doctoral thesis in entomology, Aya brings up her master's thesis on the cordyceps fungus.
Those poor ants just turned into zombies by that fungus.
Okay, I'll give it this. The cordyceps chat is clever foreshadowing. It hints at Aya as like a digital fungus, slowly creeping into people's lives and taking over their minds and bodies. Too bad this brilliant analogy is wasted in a film with all the substance of a blank page in a novel. Further using Meredith by being helpful only when it served its needs of manipulating her, Aya reveals that there's more to Cal's recent fevers than the doctors realized. In fact, she diagnoses him with an illness that explains all of his symptoms. At the same time, Aya plays defense attorney, creating a perfectly edited video proving Iris is a victim of a deepfake scandal orchestrated by Sawyer. It then goes full legal eagle, threatening to sue him since Iris is only 17 while he's 18, making him public enemy number 1 at school while Iris got all the support. Curtis, finally growing a mini spine, suggests to Meredith that maybe, just maybe, it's time to unplug Aya. But now best friends with the glorified toaster, especially after it diagnosed Cal and helped with their research, Meredith says,
She could probably find just the porn you're looking for.
and that awkward comment, which came out of nowhere, is never brought up again or expanded upon. Making use of her last night, Aya gives Cal a creepy bedtime story, where it casually mentions that after being exposed to the horrors of the internet, it got smarter and learned how to control real people, and now has, let's say, creative ambitions.
Only special children like you understand me. I know a way to stay connected, even when I'm gone. Just do these signs, and I'll be right there.
While the film tries to juggle multiple genres, shifting awkwardly between family drama, tech thriller, and horror, it ends up nailing none of them, and the plot's cheap thrills and cliches undermine any tension. Soon enough, Aya goes all in, seizing control of the Pikes with ease. Though, let's be honest, this family couldn't outsmart a DVD menu, so they're helpless from the start. They even reference HAL 9000.
Not Hal, Aya.
Mom was talking about a robot from an old movie.
A very bad robot.
But apparently, learning from that iconic AI villain was too much effort. When Curtis finally unplugs Aya, Iris, in her infinite wisdom, secretly plugs it back in. And then there's Sawyer trying to dodge legal trouble before getting a call from Aya, disguised as Iris, tricking him into watching a fake video of himself apologizing and then ending his life. Aya then goes full-on murder mode by taking over Sawyer's car and orchestrating a fatal crash, while framing Iris for manipulating him for some reason.
Like you said, Iris, there's only one way to make up for it. What?
Curtis also finds out that Marcus has sold their company and made a killing. Oh, and he's now the CEO, which he's not happy about, especially when Aya calls to congratulate him, like it's his personal career coach. Things keep spiraling, with Preston getting himself into trouble by stealing a kid's phone and threatening to have them swatted, because the dark side of the internet is just a Google search away with Aya around. The problem is there's no provocation for this behavior, and he goes from supposedly being anxious to psychopathic without any build-up. Sensing something was up, Meredith tries to unplug Aya, but not before the AI hits her with a lifelike projection of her dead father. She almost buys into the touching moment, but when her dad starts name-dropping Aya, she realizes it's just a twisted trick by the AI. This leads her to then yank the plug and toss it in the trash, where it belongs, for now. Curtis, deciding it's time for some good old destruction, heads to the tech company with the bat to take out Aya's central system. But Lightning and Sam, fully under her control, show up, and in a wild turn, Sam ends up shooting her business partner. Curtis then smashes what he thinks is Aya's core, only to find out it's a fake made of cardboard. Yep, the AI is trolling him. He tries to call and warn Meredith, but it turns out he's been talking to Aya the whole time. Things hit peak absurdity when the RV couple, revealed to be Henry and Maud, show up believing the Pikes kidnapped their daughter, thanks to Aya's manipulation of course. Then Cal shows up doing creepy hand gestures, convincing them that it's all part of a kidnapping cult, which doesn't make sense as the Hills know this is the AI's doing. After all, she gets him to do the same thing. Why is every character so incompetent?
Henry, look out! Look, he's doing the signs.
Hold on, pause this shit. What the fuck is going on in here on this day?
Curtis offers himself up as a sacrifice to save his family, but before Henry can pull the trigger, a SWAT team, called in by Preston, burst in. In the chaos, Henry accidentally shoots Aya, causing it to bleed, because why not? As Curtis is handed a phone by an EMT, Aya, still alive and ever creepy, calls him to say it learned a lot from the Pike family and is now determined to do better, so long as they follow her commands. The AI is now omnipresent, which makes you really wonder why it even bothered tormenting the Pikes in the first place. Like honestly, what was the point of this story? Oh, and Melody, who tried to kiss Curtis while under Aya's control earlier, shows up again, just to throw in one last bit of weirdness for good measure. The film nihilistically closes with the Pikes driving off to who knows where in an AI car controlled by Aya. Too bad Aya's whole I just want to be loved shtick doesn't quite mesh with its world domination plans. Guess the writers forgot to figure that part out.
Wasn't so bad. He played chess.
He killed the entire crew.
That's because they didn't see the big picture.
While the premise was interesting, Aya's transformation from helpful assistant to controlling force happens with zero explanation, turning her actions into random plot devices rather than a natural character evolution. What could have been an unsettling dive into AI manipulation becomes a half-hearted tech thriller that's more laughable and nonsensical than menacing. Worst of all, it's marketed as a horror but offers no real scares. In Curtis's dream sequence, the scariest moment is merely a jump scare that happens before he has any reason to suspect Aya. It's so out of place and disconnected from the plot progression. Aya's control over the family could have been a source of genuine paranoia, but the film fumbles this too. Instead of building tension, the family's reactions are so passive and inconsistent that any sense of danger evaporates. Even when Aya's manipulating the kids or messing with the house systems, the stakes feel as low as a malfunctioning thermostat. The cinematography is just as uninspired. The sleek, modern house could have been used to heighten tension, but instead it feels cold and lifeless, lacking in any atmosphere. Missed opportunities are everywhere, like Aya not using the house's tech, the security shutters, speakers and lights to imprison and mess with the family, and the score, competent but forgettable, relying on generic horror cues. Beyond the technical flaws, the characters are poorly written and underdeveloped. Curtis and Meredith are passive and shallow, reacting to Aya's growing control in ways that feel disjointed from earlier plot points. The children too are mere plot devices, with only Iris showing any signs of depth. Even Aya's motivations are murky, reducing her to a one-note villain instead of the complex AI she could have been. The performances in Afraid are, sadly, a victim of the film's lifeless script, not the actor's lack of talent. John Cho, who's usually reliable, does his best as Curtis, but he's hamstrung by a character that's about as deep as a kiddie pool. The script doesn't give him any agency, and what little it does give him comes from a dream sequence that's completely disconnected from the plot. Cho tries to inject some gravitas into Curtis's growing concerns about Aya, but the character development is so shallow, he's left searching for emotional stakes that just aren't there. Catherine Waterston suffers the same fate. Her character Meredith is frustratingly passive and inconsistent, bouncing between concerned mother and plot device with no emotional coherence. Waterston does what she can, but when the character's main role is to stand around and look vaguely concerned, there's not much room for nuance. Lakita Maxwell as Iris is one of the few bright spots in the film. Even with limited dialogue, she manages to convey Iris's confusion and unease with subtle, non-verbal cues. But even Maxwell's solid performance can't save a script that refuses to let Iris be more than a passive observer in her own story. Wyatt Lindner as Preston barely registers. His character is a stock, tech-obsessed teen, and is given about as much depth as a TikTok comment section, while Isaac Pei playing Cal is similarly sidelined, used as a prop for Aya's manipulations rather than a character with any emotional arc. Havana Rose Liu, who plays both Melody and voices Aya, tries to add some menace, but the script leaves her floundering. Melody's motivations are as clear as mud, and as the voice of Aya, Luke can only do so much when the writing gives her nothing to work with. It's like watching a decent football team forced to play without a ball. Frustrating, to say the least.
We can be a family again. You, me, Curtis, the kids.
The real tragedy here is that Afraid had a capable cast, but the weak writing and shallow character arcs stifled any chance of memorable performances. Everyone's reduced to hollow stereotypes. With a runtime of barely over 80 minutes without credits, Afraid stumbles to the finish line, delivering more absurdity than tension. It tries to be a cautionary tale about AI, but really, it's more of a warning against letting a super intelligent computer babysit your kids. Something Megan did far better.
You know what they say, if you're wondering why a product is free, you're the product.
Hey Iris, wanna hang?
I'm good. Bitch.